Well, hello, brothers and sisters. I hope you're not left with too much frustration in your heart since our last encounter. That on the contrary, you've thought about it, reflected over this reality that, well, the world seems to just turn in circles and lead nowhere. That no matter our efforts, even in the Christian walk, all we're doing is just adding to the ocean that never gets filled up. Faith has existed since the beginning, and we're still not left with all the answers. And that's supposed to be okay. Now I say, I hope you're not left with too much frustration because Quillet is not finished yet. Actually, the first nail of truth will be at the end of chapter 2. For now, he's going to continue to really lead us into emptiness, into haval, and frustrations. Actually, what he's going to do in chapter 1 is give us a bit more of his pedigree. Who is this man and why should we listen to him? He's going to continue in chapter 2, but we're going to focus on this last part of chapter 1. This last part functions a bit like a sparrow turning in circles, like the poem did. He's going to give us his pedigree, his conclusion, and then a proof of his conclusion, or an argument to prove it. He's going to do that twice, actually. Here's who I am, here's my thesis, here's a proof of my thesis. Twice around. And I hope by then, we're going to be left with the same kind of convinced. We're going to be left convinced that what he says makes sense. On this note, let us begin. So he comes back around, and again presents himself and says, I, the preacher, have been king over Jerusalem. And I apply my heart to seek and to search out by wisdom all that is done under heaven. It is an unhappy business that God has given to the children of man to be busy with. The fact that he again presents himself as the preacher, and especially in this way, I quell it, will force us to talk about this subject again. This person, who is he? And you'll see why a bit more when we move along. But for now, he says that he was the king of Jerusalem. So, Solomon? Now, this man says that he applied his heart and he seeked and searched out. And that with the tool of wisdom. I probably said it before, but it's good to say it again. He wasn't just a pessimistic, negative guy who had a bad day and started to just rant. No, he's a guy who took the time to analyze, search out, make sense, and that with the wisdom God gave him. Wisdom, right? Solomon, the wisest man on earth. Use that with much diligent effort to try to make sense of life under heaven or under the sun, same idea. And he calls this an unhappy business, something to be busy with, and something that comes from God. Paul will tell us in Romans how there's something inside of it that seeks after God, even if it's a wrong way. We know the truth, right? Even though we suppress it. There's something inside of us that wants to obey God. Romans 3. Even when he's in Athens, he tells people how we're searching in the dark, trying to make sense. There's something God has given us to try to make sense of life to end up finding him. Well, some do at least. Because God calls them. But I digress. The point is, God gives us this desire to seek out like he did. But here's the conclusion he gets from all of this searching led by God. And it's this. I have seen everything that is done under the sun, and behold, all is vanity and striving after the wind. Repetition. Right? You understand that striving after wind is the same thing as havel, which is really something that can't be grasped. You run after wind all you want, you'll never grab it. It's the same idea. That everything is that. All built, not again, off a pessimistic person, but somebody who took time to really study life under the sun. That all this effort of searching out and making sense of all things under the sun has still left him empty. There's still something missing. He even says everything, actually, just leaves us without the answers, the full-fledged answers. And then he's going to prove it. He's going to prove his thesis with two arguments. He says, What is crooked cannot be made straight, and what is lacking cannot be counted. Argument number one, there's certain things in this world we can't change. God made, and no matter what science and change we bring into the world, we cannot modify these things. And we keep saying how the earth is at a certain axis, certain position in the universe, and if it moved in any way, shape, or form, we could all die. But the thing is, we can never change that, though. That's something that can be changed. We can discuss the possibilities, but it cannot be done. And that's just one example. I mean, there are things in this world that cannot be, no matter what we do, changed. Other than if you're God. But we're not. Second argument. Things can be counted because they don't exist. We can theorize what we want. Certain things do not exist, and so cannot be counted or made sense of. Certain elements in this world God did not put. Right? The invisible things, the unknown things that are only for God. Well, those missing elements means we can't have all the information. We're missing information, and even with the information, certain things we couldn't change. That's what it means by ultimately we're left with Havel. Because we don't have all the info, and because we can't change certain things, we're left with that emptiness of saying, no matter what, certain things just won't make sense. And that comes back around. Reminds us who he is and why we should be listening to what he has to say. He's going to say, I said in my heart, I've acquired great wisdom, surpassing all who were over Jerusalem before me. And my heart has had great experience of wisdom and knowledge. Here's the place that bothers some people. Because he seems to be talking about all who came before him, but that would have been David and Saul. That's not a lot of people. What is he boasting about? See, if he is someone who lived many decades later, but there's other kings like Hezekiah and Josiah and other things, that could make more sense. But here again, no, because he's pretending to be Solomon. And those over Jerusalem were not just David and Saul. They were ruling here before. One known figure is Melchizedek, this king of Salem, same place they say, same place, who was a priest of the God Most High, who shows up in the life of Abraham. He was probably a very wise man who knew God, he was his priest. And here's Kohelet saying, I surpassed him though. And again, how would the experience of wisdom and knowledge, two words that mean the same thing, all this good instruction and knowledge and given by God through diligent effort using the wisdom God gave him. So again, what he has to say is not just a guy in frustration, it's a guy who's really got the pedigree to say these things. Keep that in mind as he now lays into that pedigree in his conclusion once again and says this, and I applied my heart to know wisdom, to know madness of folly. I perceive that this also is but striving after wind. Again, applied, searched out all these words that speak of great, impassioned effort to make sense of things. And all that for wisdom. For wisdom. Wisdom God gave him, and wisdom that led him to seek more of it. But he talks about madness and folly though. I believe, I could be wrong, that he's referring to all these other philosophies and religion of his time. Remember, Solomon's temple, court, had many people come to him, like the Queen of Sheba. But it says that there's other people that kept coming to him that challenge his wisdom. These people probably brought philosophers with them. They're priests who knew all these things. And Solomon probably read those books, listened to these people. That's, I think, what he means by folly and madness. He still listened to what they had to say. All the reasoning. And he chewed on it with his wisdom God gave him. And left it by saying this. It's all striving after win. It's all havel. It leaves you empty. All these people and all these reasonings and all our modern science still leaves us with an emptiness. Or something lagging. Because certain things can't be changed. Because certain information is missing. We're left with havel. That's what he has to say. And again, he's going to try to prove that. One last argument by saying this. For, because. I can say it's all havel because in much wisdom is much vexation. And he who increases knowledge increases sorrow. And you almost want to say, no, now you're wrong. Because the Bible says that wisdom can help me. Yeah, here's the problem though. When you make wisdom or knowledge an end in of itself. Yet, Ecclesiastes says the beginning of wisdom is the fear of the Lord. And even when you read Proverbs, you see it's about walking with the Lord, seeking Him out. But Kawhi's not there yet. He's not. He's talking simply about knowledge and wisdom and trying to make sense of life under the sun by ourselves, for ourselves. And how that leaves us kind of empty. Because certain things we won't be able to change and certain information we'll never get. Now, that doesn't just apply to the unbelieving world, but also our Christian world. We'll have all these programs you can follow that will supposedly deliver you from certain sins. Follow these 12 steps. Or read these books. Go to these conferences and you have a better marriage, or you'll raise your kids right. Except all this knowledge you seek out to try to control your world, your children, your marriage, whatever, it will sometimes leave you empty. It'll work for some, but then it won't work for you, and you'll just be vexed and saddened and filled with sorrow. Because all of this knowledge didn't help you. Because again, it's not in and of itself the end of what we're supposed to look for. I hope you're starting to see where Colette is going here. You're seeing that it's not about being pessimistic, but about realizing how all of this efforts leave us empty, leave us full of havel, because we can't control our world. Certain things we don't even know about. All this information won't change certain things. And so it's just frustrating. And it's okay to recognize that. To accept this emptiness. Because we know who fills it, but again, we're not there. For now, let's just accept that the answers aren't found in wisdom or information, instruction itself, brothers and sisters. Let's accept the frustration for now. On this note, be blessed.